Hi, welcome back to solving linear systems with two variables using elimination. In order to solve a linear system with two variables, we must multiply one equation so that one of the variables has the same coefficient but a negative version of that number with the same variable. Then, once we solve one variable, we plug that value back in the equation to find the other variable value. Okay. So first, right up here, we have two equations. We have 6x minus 5y is equal to 8, and negative 12x plus 2y is equal to 0. So the first thing I want to do is I want to have one of the variables have the same coefficient in both equations, but one of a positive and one of a negative. So, as I look at, I have 6 and 12, and I have 5 and 2. Well, I think, I can multiply 6 by 2, and I can have 12, which is the positive version of negative 12x. So let's go ahead and let's multiply this whole equation by 2. So that gives us 12x minus 10y is equal to 16. And then I just bring this equation down. Negative 12x plus 2y is equal to 0. So, now I simply add the two equations. 12x plus negative 12x gives us 0, and that completely cancels out. And that's the key. That's what we're trying to do here, because we just want to solve for one variable before we solve for the other. So now we have negative 10y plus 2y. That gives us negative 8y is equal to 16. Divide both sides by negative 8. And we get y is equal to negative 2. Alright, awesome. So we found out what our y is. Now we want to find what our x is. So whenever we find one of the variables, we can take either or of the equations and we simply just plug in negative 2. So let's go ahead and let's plug in negative 2 to our first original equation. So now we are plugging in negative 2 for y in our first equation. So we have 6x minus 5 times negative 2 is equal to 8. So we have negative 5 times negative 2, which gives us positive 10. So we have 6x plus 10 is equal to 8. Now we can go ahead and subtract both sides by 10. And that gives us 6x is equal to negative 2. Divide both sides by 6. And we find that x is equal to negative 1/3. Okay, let's move on to our next equation. Here we have 3x plus 9y is equal to negative 6. And we have negative 4x minus 12y is equal to 8. So this one's a little bit trickier because here we're going to need to multiply both equations in order to have two of the variables match, one positive and one negative. So while I look at 3 and 4 and 9 and negative 12, I think, 3 and negative 4 can both go into 12, so that sounds like our easiest way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 4 and multiply both sides of this equation by 3. Now I go ahead and distribute the 4 to all the numbers. So we have 12x plus 36y is equal to negative 24 over negative 12x minus 36y is equal to 24. Okay, so now that I have 12 and negative 12, and here I also have 36 and negative 36. This is a special one where all of our numbers cancel. So we get 0, 0, and 0. Now this is a rare case, but if you ever have this case, it simply means that there is simply no solution. Okay, now let's look at our next equation. So we have negative 3x plus 25y is equal to 50, and we have 2x plus 5y is equal to 25. So I look at my numbers and I say, okay, I can multiply the first equation by 2 and make it have negative 6x, and I can multiply my second equation by 3 and have it positive 6x. Then my x's will cancel. So we have negative 6x plus 50y is equal to 100, and we have 6x plus 15y is equal to 75. So now I add my terms. This cancels. 65y is equal to 175. Divide both sides by 65. And 175 divided by 65 gives us about 26.9, or 2.69. Okay, so now I solved for y. Y equals 2.69. So now I go and I plug in my y to solve x. So I'm going to take the first equation, and I have negative 3 of x plus 25 times 2.69 is equal to 50. So 25 times 2.69 gives us about 67.25 is equal to 50 plus negative 3x. So here I go and I minus 67.25 from both sides. 25. Then we have 50 minus 67.25. That gives us negative 17.25 is equal to negative 3 of x. Divide both sides by negative 3. 17.25 divided by 3 tells me x is 5.75. Okay, awesome. That was a little bit more of a complex equation with decimals. So now I suggest that you try these two problems yourself, and then we'll go over them. All right, hopefully you found success doing these two problems. So our first question is 2x plus 3y is equal to 20, and 7x plus 2y is equal to 53. So I look at what can I multiply by the least to have them equal the same coefficient in a negative version? Well, I could take my first equation, I could multiply it by 2, so y is equal to 6. I could take my second equation and multiply it by negative 3. So then my y is equal to negative 6. So now I have 4x plus 6y is equal to 40 over negative 21x minus 6y is equal to 53 times negative 3, negative 159. So now I go and I add these. My 6y's cancel. So now I have 4 minus 21. That gives me negative 17x is equal to 40 plus negative 159. And that gives me negative 119. Divide both sides by negative 17. We find that x is equal to 7. Nice. Now I plug x back into my first equation. So then it's 2 times 7 plus 3y is equal to 20. So I have 14 plus 3y is equal to 20. Subtract 14 from both sides. 3y is equal to 6. Divide both sides by 3. I find that y is equal to 2. Awesome. All right, one more question. Here we have 5 minus 7y is equal to negative 11. And we have 5x plus 2y is equal to negative 18. So as I look at my numbers, I look and I say, okay, this first equation I can multiply by negative 5. So it's the opposite coefficient of 5x on the other side. And for the second equation, I don't need to multiply it by anything. It just stays the same. So negative 5x minus, well, plus 35y, because we have a negative times a negative is a positive, is equal to positive 55. And 5x plus 2y is equal to negative 18. So now I go ahead and add. My 5x's cancel. Now I have 35y plus 2y. 37y is equal to 55 minus 18. That gives me 37. Divide both sides by 37. Find that y is equal to 1. So now take my first equation. Well, it really doesn't matter what equation you put it back into. And I plug in 1 for y. So I have x minus 7 times 1 is equal to negative 11. So x minus 7 is equal to negative 11. Add 7 to both sides. And I get x is equal to negative 4. Okay. Well, I hope you learned something today, and have a great day.